Even some on your own party are not convinced. Ben Houchen, the Tees Valley Mayor, the Conservative Tees Valley Mayor, who I quoted just before we spoke, but let's just take a line from that. It didn't solve problems we face on energy costs, fuel bills or inflation, while measures such as the national insurance threshold increase, living wage increase and fuel duty are welcome. They'll have no real terms impact on the money in people's pockets. Why hasn't the Chancellor managed to convince the Conservative Mayor in Tees Valley?
Well, I understand. I mean, he's a brilliant mayor. I understand that everybody, normal people up and down the country are really struggling with their bills, and they'll always want the Chancellor to do more. And I suspect there will be more done in the budget later on in the year. But I set out the context. We're £2 trillion in debt in our country, £2 trillion. I mean, this is very difficult because the more debt you have, the less money you can use for tax cuts and spending on vital public services. I've challenged the government. I campaigned for weeks for them to cut fuel duty. I think that will have actually a positive effect on inflation because it will reduce prices in the round. I've just been come down from the chamber of the House of Commons, and I've said that the government should introduce a pump watch, consumer watchdog, as suggested by Fairfuel UK, because part of the problem often is that the oil companies don't reflect the falls internationally of the oil prices. The prices at the pump are often not reflected even when the oil price falls internationally.
Interesting that you said that you were hopeful, I think is the word you used, of more in the autumn statement. That's the main annual budget. Do you have an inside knowledge on us, or do you just have a hunch that he will do more come the autumn?
Well, I'm sure he will do more, but I think it's very important when the government does the right thing in incredibly difficult circumstances, when the country has literally run out of money because of our huge debt. The Chancellor's trying to get our finances back in order, but also help working people, particularly with the NI, the national insurance changes, which will mean that 70% of households will be better off, even with the new levy to raise the funds, the vital funds that everybody wants, the 36 billion for the NHS and social care.
And you talk about the deficit and the debt, and there is no doubt that the argument has been made for about a decade and has delivered Conservative election victories. So I think Labour do have to worry there. But Labour do have a fair point, don't they, on that one-off tax on energy companies to cut the bills. That doesn't add to the debt or the deficit. What's wrong with it? They're making huge profits.
Well, I've said personally I don't have a problem with a windfall tax, but what the government say when I raised this, and also a lot of MPs from Scotland, is that a windfall tax actually will impede investment by the oil companies, and that possibly lead to the loss of literally many thousands of jobs. And at the moment, especially with the energy situation being so difficult, we need to invest in our oil fields, and oil companies need to invest. That investment may stop if there is a windfall tax on these companies. So that's the argument that the government has made. I think that's important to listen to. As I say, there are no easy answers to this, and I'm absolutely convinced that if the government could raise money from various sources, they would do so. Now, the good news and the unexpected good news is that employment is back to pre-pandemic levels. We've in essence created a job miracle in our country. As long as people are in work, getting good jobs and good pay, and that will help alleviate some of the difficulties that people face. But that is not denying for one moment, I see it in my constituency, that people are really struggling with the cost of energy, particularly, and paying for fuel at pumps. And the government only a month ago announced a £9 billion package to try and alleviate. They can't do everything, but a £9 billion package to try and alleviate some of the cost of that energy bills, including a £150 council tax rebate to most households in the country, except the well-off.